All right, everybody. So today we're going to talk about something that I do in the practice room all the time, but I don't think I've ever discussed on this channel before. And that is one of the ways that I work on my time feel and my sense of swing and making what I'm playing feel good. Because, this is often a question I get from a lot of my students, and it's one of the hardest things in the world to teach because telling somebody how to have a great swing feel, how to make the audience go, when you play, is not something you can express with words. Sure, you could talk about techniques for tonguing and like articulation patterns and stuff like that. But really, at the end of the day, you got to use these and you got to connect your instrument to these so that ultimately you play what you hear. And it's one of the reasons why teachers like me and jazz teachers all across the world really say, listen. Because it's just not possible for us to tell you how to get that feel that you ultimately want. So today we're going to take the concept of listening and studying recordings to the next level and give you something that is really, really fun to do. And that has been one of the most beneficial things that I've done in my life as a musician. So hopefully you are all listening to a bunch of records and transcribing those records. That is definitely number one, the things you have to be doing to get better at music and to develop this feel that we're talking about, to really be able to swing. But there's something that I don't think a lot of people do that is actually just as beneficial as those other two things I mentioned, which is to actually play along with recordings, but not as a vehicle for transcription, not as a vehicle for playing exactly what the artists are playing, but instead imagining yourself as part of the band on the record and trying to add in your own voice. And then thinking, if this was my contribution to this band, would it match up with what they're playing? Now, of course, with some recordings, this is just not feasible. But there are examples of fantastic recordings where there's a lot of space or a lot of opportunity for you to play along and add something to the recording. So I'm going to talk about two recordings today that I love to do this with. The first one is by fantastic, amazing, legendary vocalist Dina Washington. And the song is called Trouble in the Lowlands. And this is just a blues. And one of the coolest things about this tune is that it's a classic blues where Dina sings and then she leaves space. And there is a guitar player on the recording that's filling a lot of that space. But one thing I love to do is try to fill up that space as well and play something that complements what Dina is singing. And you want to talk about a recording that's one of the best feeling recordings that I've ever heard in my entire life. This is it. I originally discovered this recording from an interview, actually, between Brad Mehldau and Miguel Zenon, where Brad Mehldau credited it as one of the most influential recordings in his life. All right, so let me demonstrate a little bit like what I would do in the practice room with a recording like this. Now, I know I'm going to get a copyright claim on this basically right away, but hopefully I don't get a copyright strike, or hopefully the video doesn't get taken down. But definitely not going to be making my $2 from ads on this video. So the thing you could do to help support the channel is like and subscribe, as always. All right, let's check out my best attempt at trying to be a part of this band. This is Dina Washington, Trouble in the Lowlands. Now I know that they would never hire me, right? I don't hold a candle to the musicians on this record, but it is so fun to try to play in such a way that maybe I would be able to fit into this ensemble. And that requires a lot of things. It requires me sounding on my instrument like I would fit into this ensemble. It requires me playing with a pretty serious blues affect, because if I don't, I'm going to sound totally opposite of what Dinah is singing. So I've got to really get in touch with that part of my playing, that old school, real blues material that hopefully I was displaying on that recording you just heard. But this recording is so great because she just sings verse after verse after verse after verse. So much opportunity for you to try to play something meaningful along with this recording. All right, so here's another one of my favorite artists to do this with, and honestly, another one of my favorite recordings to do this with. This is Nat King Cole singing a song called When I Grow Too Old to Dream. And the swing feel on this tune is sort of exactly the type of swing feel that I want to emulate. The way that he sings it, the way that the rhythm section is playing behind him. This is some of my favorite music that I've ever heard. So naturally, I would want to be able to play like they play, be able to sound like maybe I belong in this band. So I'm just going to do the same thing with this one. We'll do a little bit of the sung head in, and largely I'm thinking exactly the same way that I was on the last one, but this is just a completely different set of changes, and it's a different affect that I am trying to use with this. This is a little more like classic swing style, not as much bluesy, and I'm just really listening to the way Nat King Cole is singing it and trying to complement what he's doing.
When I grow too old to dream, I'll have you to remember. When I grow too old to dream, your love will live in my heart. So kiss me, my sweet, and so let us part. And when I grow too old to dream, your love will live in my heart.
Whew, just another one of the most swinging recordings. Now you'll notice there's a violin and a guitar in that recording, sort of trying to fill the same role that I am. And that's okay. Remember, we're not like putting out albums of us playing over other albums. This is just a way of practicing. But to me, there's just nothing more fun than this. And I really, really believe that if you start doing this on a regular basis, along with a lot of listening and transcription, you're never going to have to ask that question again of, how do I swing? How do I get a good time feel? This is truly the way to develop your sense of swing, your sense of time, is by matching these other musicians, trying to complement them, and ultimately be a musician that could possibly get called for a date like this and be a contributing member of the band. So try this. Maybe start with these two recordings that I just mentioned. Dina Washington, Trouble in the Lowlands, and Nat King Cole, When I Grow Too Old to Dream. But there are hundreds of other recordings that I've done this with. And I've actually heard a lot of interviews with the legends of the music that they did this as well. Like I remember one interview with Randy Brecker where he talked about, putting on the Wynton Kelly trio and just playing over the piano solos just so he could play along with that rhythm section and feel what it's like to play with them. So let me know if you have any questions. Do you ever do this with recordings? If so, let me know in the comments section what recordings you've done this with and maybe how it's helped you. And if you've never done this before, I'm really excited for you because this can be the most fun part of your practice routine. And I'm telling you, those benefits are going to appear in your playing like crazy. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. I hope this was beneficial to you. Ask me any questions you might have. And thanks for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. We'll see you on another video soon. Bye, everybody.